Yo, what's up guys? It's Elephant, and I am going to be going through my top 10 dust collectors in my garage. So, this is going to be an interesting video because I have a total of locked cars, total number 795 locked cars. And some of them have been in my garage for a very long time and done absolutely nothing. So, what I'm considering a dust collector in my garage is a car with less than 9 upgrades and 0 fuses. So it could have a few upgrades, but it can't be upgrades that happen with like a fuse. And it has to be less than 1 star. So less than 9 upgrades and no fuses in the car. And we're going to be seeing what the oldest car in my garage is that has done practically nothing. And some of them are actually really surprising. So the first car that we are going to be starting off with is an RQ48. It's from the new update. It's the Nissan Skyline 370 GT Type S. It has been in my garage for 219 days, 19 total races, a 95% win ratio, and it is at 111. Nothing has really happened with it. That's all it's done, is just sit in my garage pretty much. It is a good one, and I'd like to max it out at some point, but the thing is with super rares, it's just I don't really max them out very often unless I really need to use them for something, where that's very key, like a challenge or the Nissan Championship or something. And it was useful in the Nissan Championship, but I just could leave it stock and it was useful enough. So yeah, that's the Nissan Skyline. The next one's actually a pretty surprising one because it's an epic. And there are actually a couple of epics on this list too. So, the epic on this list, let me actually just use the slider, is the RQ68 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. And I've had it for 220 days, 0 races, 0% win ratio. But the thing is, this is a car that I can't really fuse away, because it's a good one. It maxes out at 99 handling, I think like 3.50 to 60, 3.40 to 60 maybe. I don't really remember the 0 to 60 it maxes out at, but it's a really good car. It's just I pulled it after like American Frontier was pretty much done, so there haven't really been like any finals where this car would be useful in, or any like important events or anything where it'd be worth upgrading or putting fuses into it. So it's just sat stock in my garage, which is why it's been sitting in my stock in my garage for 220 days. It just hasn't been useful at all. I mean, I'm sure it'd be useful if I had it maxed out and then used it in some events, but for it being an RQ68 that I have better cars to work on, it's just pretty much just sitting here stock and doesn't really have much use. Now, for the third car on this list, or the third least oldest out of the top 10 in my garage, is another super rare, which is this one, the RQ48 Suzuki XL7. And this one is just another one that's kind of just been sitting in my garage. I used to have this on an old account, which is why it's kept on here. Had it for 225 days, 6 total races within 100% win ratio. It's not really a great car, it's not really anything special. It's just more of a collector car, which is why I have it in this garage. I just collected it because I used to have it on my old account. If for some reason it may be needed for something, then I'll max it out, but it'll probably just be sitting stock in the garage for a much longer time after this. So, it's just going to be there to sit. Then, the next one is also a really surprising one because it's actually a very high tier car, an RQ79 car. And it has been owned for 240 days with being stock, and it's the RQ79 Bentley Continental Super Sports Convertible. As you can see, 240 days, 74 total races, 81% win ratio, but it's been sitting at 111. And the thing is, it's because my other Bentleys have gotten more use. These two I was able to use in a final, while the Super Sports Convertible I couldn't because it was a convertible, so it was locked out of being used for the final. While these two, 113, and this one's also at 113, they've both gotten use, and those two would probably be maxed out before the Continental Super Sports Convertible because I've already got fuses into them, and they're all probably going to be used in the same category unless there's like some British specific convertible event. Then maybe the Continental Super Sports will be maxed out, but right now I've got 2 better Bentleys, but the Continental Super Sports Convertible does fill a niche, so it probably won't be getting fused away anytime. And it also is a high RQ epic, so in a finals where it could be key, it would probably be a very useful one to have, which is why I'm keeping it still. Then the next car on this list is the first prize car on this list. I think there's 2 prize cars on this list, and the first one on this list is an RQ47 one. It's the RQ47 Plymouth Superbird, which I've had stock with 271 days, 3 total races, 67% win ratio. It's a prize car, so it's just been sitting here. It's just there hasn't really been a need for it yet. I haven't really found a need for it. I probably will max it out when I start to work on maxing out all the Plymouths, because I have all the Plymouths collected. Now I just need to work on maxing them out, but that's not going to be happening anytime soon because I've also got some silver screen cars to work on for super rare, and then I'll probably start maxing out my two-tone cars as well, just to have those done so I don't have to worry about those when two-tone rolls around. So Plymouth Superbird will probably just be sitting here stock for some more time. The next one is actually a really good epic as well. It's an RQ65 one, but it's the Chevrolet McRae, and it's actually in the 300s, 315 days owned, 55 total races, 91% win ratio, and it's also at 111. It's just been sitting at 111. I pulled it in the same day I pulled my RQ80 Legendary Aerial Atom, but there's been events where I could have used it. There's been stuff where I probably could have maxed it out even if I wanted to, but it's just I haven't had the opportunity to, so it's just been sitting here stock. And it's also a car that doesn't really see that much of use very much often anymore, because it has American Dream, so it is a bit of an older tag. It has the concept tag though, which isn't bad, with the four-wheel drive performance tires, so it's useful in the rain and stuff, but it's really just an interesting car that you kind of need a specific event for, which is why I haven't had it as a project car yet, and it's just been sitting stock. Now, maybe with this new final, is it front engine? No, it's mid-engine, so never mind. It won't be useful in this new final anyway that was coming up. I was hoping maybe American Dream and, like, something with this could have been useful, and I could have had an excuse to work on upgrading the McRae, but nope, it does not. So, the Chevy McRae will remain stock for quite some time as well, I believe. Next up is an RQ44 car, the Chevrolet Camaro IROC Z, which I've owned for 344 days, 45 total races with a 96% win ratio, and a lot of these cars have very good win ratios because I use them in clubs when there's just like 0 opponents, and so then I'll just farm the races against the hutchpots. So all I need is just a car with better stats than the hutchpots, which is what a lot of these cars have because they all are relatively high RQ. I've had it for 344 days, and the only reason I haven't fused it away is because it's similar to the Suzuki. It's just a collector's car that I have in my garage. I wanted to keep it, so I kept it, and it's just been locked in my garage for a while now. It hasn't done anything. It's just been here to collect races against the hutchbots and clubs, but I will max it out at some point as well. It's in a similar situation like the Suzuki. It probably won't get maxed out until like I'm like, oh, let me just max out this car for some reason, or if I need it for a challenge or something. It is a 90s car, so I mean it could be useful in a challenge, also US too, so they could do like US 90s or something as a challenge, but I'll have to wait to see if that ever happens. And the next car on this list is a very surprising one. It's another epic, which has also been in the garage for 421 days. Now, this is where I said basically a dust collector in my garage, it has to have less than 9 upgrades. And it is at 1.11, 1.3. So it's not fully 1-starred. It's not 1-starred. It has no fuses. Not 1-starred, doesn't have any fuses, and I've had it for 421 days, 84 total races, 76% win ratio. And the reason why I'm keeping this car is because it has good stats maxed out. It maxes out at 3.497. It's a good BMW. It's just a good all-rounder car. It's also delimited too, so it has higher top speed compared to the other BMWs. And it is just a useful all-rounder, but really, there's just never been a great opportunity to use it compared to all my other BMWs or just other cars that I have. Like if we filter by BMW, I've got the 750D X-Drive if there's rain, I have the M3 GTS, I have the M6 Grand Coupe, I have the Nazca C2, so really there just hasn't been much of a need for the M2 competition delimited when it comes to events, because there hasn't really been a like specific BMW x5 challenge or BMW x5 event. And if there is something where like you need a few BMWs or lots of cars that are similar to BMW in like their sort of niche areas, I have the M3 GTS, the M6 Grand Coupe, or the Nazca C2 if I need something similar like that. Which is why it's just remained not nearly fully upgraded yet. It's not even at 1-star, and it's just sort of been sitting here in the garage collecting dust. So the next car in this list, it's the 9th car before we get to the last one, and then there's also an honorable mention. But the 9th oldest car in my garage, it's an RQ13. It is the Chrysler Town & Country, being owned for a whopping 458 days, 29 total races, 0% win ratio. I don't know how this car's just stayed in my garage for so long. That's kind of the thing with commons. Right once they get thrown in the garage, then they're just kind of there forever. And eventually I might max them out just when I decide time to work on some commons. Like, that's similar with the Chrysler LeBaron. I kept it before even Silver Screen. AMC Gremlin I kept recently. Same with the Volkswagen Polo. There's just a lot of random commons, and they'll get locked and then they'll just stay in the garage. Like, same thing goes for the Volkswagen Golf, TVR Vixen S2, the Suzuki Carry. Like, it's just like, oh, this car is kind of cool, and it just gets thrown in the garage and locked forever. And that's what happened with the Chrysler Town & Country 458 days ago. And it's still stock. And then another one is the RQ18, oldest car in my garage that is stock and has had nothing happen with it. And it's also a really good one. It's another common, but it's the RQ18, where is it? Honda Beat. And I've had it for 496 days, 197 total races, 16% win ratio, and it is completely stock. It's nearing the 500 day mark, and it's just been in my garage. This is probably the only Honda Beat I've had in my garage, and the thing is, it's just not that good of a car as it used to be, which is why I just haven't ever, like, decided to upgrade it, because it maxes out at 10.085, which is not a bad thing for a common. But compared to other commons we have now, 8184, we have the Suzuki Cappuccino somewhere too. 8279, that's not bad. 8.884, 9283, 8984. So I mean, the Honda Beat is still good, but for the amount of RQ that it takes up, with it being 18 RQ for 10.085, it's just, I haven't really decided, okay, I'll just max out my Honda Beat now. So it's just been sitting here then. And then we also have one honorable mention, which is actually the oldest stock car in this garage, but I didn't really think it, like, should have the top spot because you'll see. Well, you'll see why it shouldn't have the top spot. And that's because it is a common prize car. It is the Peugeot 203. I've had it for 590 days stock, 189 total races with a 2% win ratio. But really, I don't think this should count as my oldest car stock, because I've got two other 203s, and really I don't feel like just maxing out another one. I'd probably sell it if it wasn't a prize car. So really, it's just kind of has no purpose in my garage anyway. But it's a prize car, so I'm going to be keeping it. But that's really the only reason it's still in my garage. And I sort of count the Honda Beat then as my oldest dust collector in the garage. I mean, this is like a major dust collector. All it's done is collect dust and just sit here, and that's it. But my oldest car that I'm not selling in my garage, and that I am keeping and will be maxed out eventually, is that Honda Beat. So yeah, very interesting collection of cars. I have a lot of cars in my garage that are just randomly in my garage that could be upgraded, 237 to be exact, and a lot of them are still gaining days. A lot of these have numbers in the 100s. I also have some other ones like the Vauxhall Forenza Old Nail with 202 days. So that one was pretty close to making the list, but we had some older ones. So yeah, that's going to be concluding it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that cool stuff. I'm Yellowfin. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.